tonight. A series of unrelated fires in Saskatoon have caused millions of dollars in damage and claimed one life. The common cause? Careless smoking.
They're all lies.
An emotional outburst and difficult testimony at the third day of the inquest into Samuel Ugo's death. Plus, Amazon spends $3 million to buy land in Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, June 1st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. A 64-year-old Saskatoon man is dead after starting a fire in his bedroom with a cigarette. It's the third fire in about a week caused by careless smoking. As Dane Patterson reports, the fires have resulted in millions of dollars in damage and now claimed a man's life.
The Saskatoon Fire Department was called to this home behind me just before 2 a.m. The fire was contained to the basement bedroom, and that's where a 64-year-old man had been smoking in his bed while on oxygen. And that's what sparked the blaze. Firefighters pulled him from the basement and started CPR, but the man did not survive. Another resident suffered minor injuries. It's the third fire since last Tuesday linked to smoking, or what the fire department is calling the improper or careless disposal of smoking materials. The first, a house fire on Clarence Avenue South. And then Friday night, a massive fire on 108th Street West destroyed a part of a 24-unit condo building. People had been using a plastic container as an ashtray, causing $5 million in damage.
It was outside of the property, and with that though, the container that they were using was flammable.
5 people had to be rescued from their condos.
Some of those people with mobility issues in their suites that could not get out, and we had to enter a very dangerous situation to rescue these people.
The fire marshal says the condo's lightweight vinyl siding is more flammable than traditional building materials.
If fire impinges on that type of product, if not properly protected, it can start a fire and it'll burn a little bit quicker than opposed to traditional.
Officials say regardless of burn speed, people need to safely dispose of smoking materials. That means metal containers and sand or water at the bottom of those containers to snuff out the embers. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatoon Major Crimes Unit has charged a 41-year-old man in connection with the death of Megan Gallagher and has issued arrest warrants for 3 others. 30-year-old Gallagher was last seen in September of 2020. A few months later, Saskatoon police announced they were treating her disappearance as a homicide. Now, police are asking for help to locate 3 people, all wanted for causing an indignity to human remains. They include left to right, John Wayne Sanderson, Roderick William Sanderson, and Jessica Sutherland. Samuel Ugo's family expressed grief and anger at day 3 of the coroner's inquest in Regina. The family has vowed to return the $81,000 of compensation money paid to them by the Saskatchewan Health Authority. Ugo's parents, sister, and his nieces joined members of Regina's Black community for a press conference this morning. The young football player drowned in Wascana Lake 2 years ago. He was in mental distress at the time and had been forcibly removed from Regina General Hospital by security guards. The SHA had apologized to the family and gave them $81,000. Now, the family says they only took the money in good faith because the SHA had also promised to reform the system.
So as of now, as of today, the family have decided we're returning that money back to the hospital. As of today. When we are done here, we will walk to the bank, get the check, and write the money back to the bank, to the Regina Hospital. We don't need it. Because they deceived us, they lied to us, they are not honest about what they're doing, they are not training their staff, they're all lies.
The Ugo family went to the bank to retrieve the money, but later told CBC News they were unable to access the funds so quickly. Their anger only grew through the day, and at one point, the inquest had to be halted because of an outburst. Laura Sharpaletti has the details, and a note, this report contains strong language.
Emotions were running the highest yet on the third day of the inquest into Samuel Ugo's death. The first witness was triage nurse Sarah Thompson, who was on duty during Ugo's second visit to the Regina General Hospital just hours before his death. Thompson testified that she does not actually recall seeing Ugo physically that day. Thompson is visible in the security footage, but she says she was busy triaging registered patients and Ugo wasn't registered. Thompson says security told her they couldn't get a name from the young man to register him. So, because of the flow of patients in the area and COVID-19 social distancing rules, Thompson said she told security to take Ugo anywhere but here. She says she didn't mean to eject him from the hospital. Then, this part of the video played to the jury.
No, leave me alone. I said I know because I have mental issues.
That prompted Ugo's sister to scream at Thompson, "Did you hear that? My own brother is gone because of you." The sister called Thompson a bitch and a liar multiple times. She then left the room and could be heard screaming outside the closed doors. Later, one of the security guards who removed Ugo from the hospital testified. When asked why he didn't help Ugo when the man said he had mental issues, Duran Sacchetti said that wasn't his choice. He says he spoke to Thompson, whose desk was facing Ugo, but Sacchetti says it seemed like the triage nurse wasn't concerned about keeping Ugo in the hospital. This afternoon, the Regina police officer who dropped Ugo off at the hospital testified. He began sobbing and said, "We brought him to where he wanted to go." That's when Ugo's father said, "God bless you," and started weeping. The coroner's inquest continues Thursday morning. Laura Sharpoletti, CBC News, Regina.
The coroner's inquest into the death of Samuel Ugo is putting mental health treatment in our province under the microscope. Dave Nelson from the Canadian Mental Health Association will testify at the inquest later this week, but he's speaking with us today from Regina. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Oh, good to be here.
So you've seen the video of Samuel Ugo being hauled out of the emergency room screaming that he has mental health problems. What goes through your mind when you watch that?
Well, I think most people would find that very, very disturbing. We don't see the hauling out part that often, but what we see is many people having a very difficult time getting timely help for psychiatric services and assessments and so on, going to emergency rooms. They were never designed for non-medical psychiatric emergencies. And the good news is that there's a model that we've presented to government, and we're hoping that government will place in the 2 urgent care centers in the province in Regina and Saskatoon.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the inquest and how that's going to focus on the gaps in treatment. What are some areas where you think improvements can be made in our system?
Well, I believe that we need to have dedicated pathways for people who have psychiatric issues that is not through emergency rooms. They are there specifically, almost exclusively for physical care, not psychiatric care. We need to have 24/7 capabilities with packed like police and a mental health worker, because many of these issues happen at 2 a.m. They don't happen in regular hours. We should have 24/7 coverage with nurse practitioners throughout the night and through the day. And most importantly, we should have brief treatment available in a very timely way. And then we should have psychiatric social workers that can set up people with community resources after they come out of that urgent care center.
Dave, if I were to know someone, or people watching were to know someone who is in mental health distress, what should we do?
Well, I think that what we should do is encourage them currently to go see their family doctor. If it's an emergency and someone is having suicidal ideation, they should go to emergency. Probably, if you can, they or someone, yourself, a family member should go with them, sort of for support. Going into that situation on your own is very, very bad. It's hard enough if you've got somebody with you to support you in that, right? So I guess it really depends on the urgency of the situation, right?
Ultimately, Dave, what do you hope will come out of the UCO inquest?
Well, what we're hoping is that, and there's good hope with this, that the urgent care centers will be adequately staffed and completely staffed with the model that we've presented to the minister and to the health authority to ensure that people have a much different, easier, more timely pathway to get psychiatric emergencies done.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time today.
All right, thank you.
Dave Nelson is with the Canadian Mental Health Association Saskatchewan Division in Regina. If you or someone you know is struggling, here's where to get help any time of day, 24/7. You can call the Canadian Suicide Prevention Service at 1-833-456-4566 or text 45645. The Global Transportation Hub in Regina is about to get a new tenant, and it's a big one. CBC News has learned that Amazon, the world's largest online retailer, could be setting up shop in the Queen City. Fiona Odlum has the story.
CBC has learned that 14.3 acres of land here at the Global Transportation Hub in Regina has been sold to Amazon Canada. Documents show that on Monday, May 30th, Amazon Canada Fulfillment Services, ULC, purchased the land from Healthcare of Ontario Pension Plan Realty. The purchase price? $3.3 million. The GTH has been plagued with controversy since its inception in 2012. Most recently, it's struggled financially, unable to sell any land to new investors. But in April, the province approved the sale of 247 acres of GTH for $38 million to Cargill to construct a canola crushing facility, marking the first sale of land at the hub in 5 years. With this latest sale, the GTH has now sold roughly 2/3 of the available land, leaving 505 acres still to be sold. The City of Regina said it's pleased to see continued growth at the GTH and strongly supports job growth in the Regina region.
We see the fact that the employees will live in and around Regina, and that will enhance our local economy through shopping, entertainment, and recreation.
Documents filed on May 6, 2022 show Amazon Canada Fulfillment Services registered with Saskatchewan Corporate Registry. However, it's unknown at this time whether this location will become a warehouse and distribution center for Amazon packages. Currently, Amazon has more than a dozen fulfillment centers across the country, with the bulk in Ontario and British Columbia. As for when shovels can be in the ground and how many jobs this could create, CBC News reached out to Amazon Canada and the province and didn't receive a response. Fiona Odlum, CBC News, Regina.
Conservative Party leadership candidate Pierre Poilievre made a stop in Saskatoon last night. Poilievre held a rally at Prairieland Park to a crowd of over 2,000 supporters. In his speech, he repeated several of his campaign pledges, including replacing the Governor of the Bank of Canada, selling off 15% of federal government buildings to create housing, and repealing Bill C-69, the act that would consider environmental impacts on resource projects. On firearms, Poilievre says the focus should be on gun smuggling.
It doesn't make sense to spend our law enforcement resources going after the lawful, licensed, trained, and tested firearms owners, when instead we could put that money into bolstering our borders to keep the guns out and getting tough on crime to put the criminals behind jail, behind bars.
The Conservative leadership vote will take place in September. It is Arbor Day, and to celebrate, the City of Regina was giving away free seedlings in Victoria Park this morning. Crews handed out 1,000 trees, one per person. The Queen City has been internationally recognized for its dedication to growing new trees. Fun fact, there are more than 500,000 hand-planted trees in Regina. You know what else we have a lot of in Regina? Wind. Ethan Williams will be back after the break with your full weather forecast.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
And Ethan Williams joins me now with a look at the forecast. Not bad out there today.
Not bad if you can stand another day of wind, but sunshine and some nice temperatures. We're a little below normal for this time of year. We weren't quite as nice as we were this time last year. This is the first day of meteorological spring, June 1st. Now, remember last year at this time, we were in the high 30s or mid to high 30s in south and central Saskatchewan, very warm, 20s in the north. We had lots of sunshine. This year, a little bit different. We have the sunshine, but highs barely cracking 20 degrees over the next few days. Very windy conditions. And in the north, happy meteorological summer to you. You might be getting some flurries tonight as well. Now, as for the next little while here, the next 3 months through meteorological summer, we are dealing with some cooler conditions for some parts of the province. See the blue here, and this means a chance of below average temperature conditions over the next 3 months. So from an area basically from Pelican Narrows down to around Humboldt to Moose Jaw and then down to the international border, and then eastward from there, we're looking at that chance, and especially right around the Weyburn-Estevan area, maybe up toward Yorkton. There's a greater chance in Manitoba. They're definitely going to be seeing probably lower temperatures. But if you're in the far north, Fond du Lac, Stony Rapids, Black Lake, there's a chance you could be above seasonal for the next 3 months. This is precipitation, and there's two areas we're watching. The south of the province and then the Churchill region could possibly be seeing higher amounts of rain this summer as well. Now, speaking of the moisture, we move to tonight, and we are still watching this intense Colorado low in northern Manitoba, bringing some snow to that part of the province. For us, it's mostly going to be rain. For the Wollaston Lake, Cumberland House, or pardon me, the Collins Bay area, you could be looking at some flurries, maybe even some wet snow overnight tonight mixed with rain. For the rest of the eastern part of the province, it's going to be mostly rain. That moves south as we head through the night tonight. The Hudson Bay area picking up some rain as well. By the time we get through tomorrow and Friday, though, it looks like most of us across the province will be enjoying some nice conditions. Generally, amounts between 5 and 10 millimeters in that area getting rain tonight. Now, wind gusts will die down overnight. They'll come back tomorrow, and generally, as we head through the day, we're looking at gusts between 50 and 60 kilometers out of the north and northwest again. But look at Friday. We get to Friday, and finally, some reasonable gusts heading into the weekend. Now, the next 7 days in Regina show that we're generally hovering around the 20-degree mark. Gusts tomorrow, and then not too bad of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday there, and chance of showers as we head into the beginning of next week. Just a slight chance, though. We should be kind of between 20 and 25 this time of year, but it'll be a little cool as we head into next week. We get to Saskatoon, a pretty much similar forecast here. Gusty conditions, nice bright sunshine for Friday and Saturday. Sunday, Monday, we'll see a slight bit of a cool down and clouds build in for Tuesday, Sam, but I really don't think anyone's complaining as we start our meteorological summer.
Not terrible. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving kicked off their crashed car campaign in Saskatoon this week. The goal, showing the potential consequence if a person gets behind the wheel impaired. This smashed car is located at 51st Street and Warman Road, a busy part of the city. It's a message about life and death that MAD wants drivers to receive as we head into the summer party and road trip season. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. It took an extra week, but preseason Canadian football finally kicked off in Regina last night. The Saskatchewan Roughriders hit the field for their first preseason game since the 2019 season. You'll remember the 2020 season was canceled and 2021 was cut short. So it seemed fitting the return of preseason football featured longtime rivals, the defending Grey Cup champion Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Riders ended up losing 25-16 to the Blue and Gold. Fans in attendance would have needed a program to follow along with all of the unfamiliar names. But for head coach Craig Dickinson, it was the first opportunity to see many of the players in a game situation after training camp. He doesn't have a lot of time to make roster decisions before their next preseason matchup.
I told the guys in there, I said, you got 2 days before we play again. So the reality is you're not going to be able to get in much better shape. You're probably not going to get a whole lot smarter in 2 days. You know, we're not going to get any smarter either as coaches. Maybe we'll get even a little bit dumber sometimes, I wonder. But we don't make the schedule. We just do what we got to do, and we're still going to evaluate. You know, we want to see. I don't think I've won a preseason game in 3 years, so The main thing is we want to evaluate guys, and we want to get the right guys playing in that first game against Hamilton.
The Riders head to Vancouver for their final preseason game on Friday night. Their home opener is Saturday, June 11th against Hamilton. And Ethan's back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And not too bad overnight in Regina. Sam will be at 9 degrees at midnight. Those northwest winds still pretty gusty, close to 40 kilometers an hour, partly conditions. By the time we get to 8 a.m., we do clear out a little bit. It will be up to 11. Those winds again starting to pick up for another day of very breezy winds. Could get as high as 60 kilometers an hour. Mainly sunny conditions. We get to noon and we'll warm up to 16. We're supposed to get to a high of about 21. Northwest gusts again getting close to 60 kilometers an hour. In Saskatoon, we're looking at 10 degrees at midnight. Winds will die down a little bit and then they'll pick up again as we get into tomorrow morning. Sun and clouds still by 8 a.m. By the time we get to the noon hour, those are sticking around. We'll get to 18, but we will get some clearing as we head through the afternoon, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you, this is the eve of special Platinum Jubilee celebrations for the Queen in the UK. 4 days packed with pomp and pageantry to honor the monarch's historic 70-year reign. Chris Brown is in London with more on the final preparations.
It seems Britain is ready for a party that's been 70 years in the making. The bunting and banners are hung, and outside of Buckingham Palace, the stage for the Jubilee concert and pageant is ready for the performers.
Don't cut the corner.
Including a giant dragon called the Hatchling.
And go.
It's controlled by 30 puppeteers, including Mikey Brett, who also entertained the Queen at her last Jubilee a decade ago.
It's quite exciting because she loves animals and she seems to really enjoy puppetry performances, and especially things of this scale seem to really excite her.
She's the size of a double-decker bus because she's the first human-powered puppet of that size. That means she's not got a car or a crane.
The government here is giving everyone an extra long 4-day weekend to celebrate and is spending more than $40 million Canadian on festivities and thousands of street parties for what it's calling a once-in-a-generation event. A minority here, however, will not be celebrating what this critic calls a royal reality TV show.
I mean, it's a kind of a bargain basement Kardashians, state-funded.
Graham Smith's group, Republic, is urging people to make this Jubilee the last one. These posters feature next in line Charles, his son William, but someone vandalized the photo of Prince Andrew, who's been tarnished by sexual assault allegations.
They are just going to be three very ordinary blokes who just happen to be in a very privileged position, and I think people are going to look at them and they aren't going to see someone who is royal or magical or whatever it is they might see with the Queen.
A recent poll suggests the royalty naysayers, though, are outnumbered by pro-monarchy fans 2-1. Some of them have already staked out the most prized locations to see the Queen wave to her admirers from the palace balcony on Thursday. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
The traditional birthday parade for the Queen, Trooping the Colour, as it's called, begins tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. here on CBC Television, CBC News Network, and CBC Gem. That is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news tonight at 11, and we're back tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.